You have no idea how many conversations I have with people. My fucking boss is an asshole. Life sucks. They don't pay me enough. It's like, you make 50 grand. I see what you're doing on the weekends, buddy. Okay? You could have stayed in Saturday night, but instead you went to the club.
Isn't that a straw man of working people? What, every working person is just some asshole who fucks off and gets drunk every week?
That's not what I'm saying.
There are people who are busting their ass and just not able to pay the bill.
So, in today's agenda, we'll be watching this debate between Kyle Kulinski and PBD co-host Adam Sosnick. To put it frankly, Kyle really takes him to task. As we all know, Kyle has long championed the notion that every child in the U.S. deserves an equal starting point, access to healthcare, education, and genuine opportunities. This has been his consistent message. However, Adam is staunchly opposed to this. His reasoning will leave you astonished. He essentially believes that children should face hardships if their parents aren't hustling non-stop. The man literally suggests that if you work full-time but choose to relax on weekends, instead of constantly seeking self-improvement, then your kids are out of luck. You'll witness Kyle presenting logical policy suggestions while Adam resorts to throwing out straw man arguments and views that are completely disconnected from reality. It's almost painful to see someone miss the mark so badly. But Kyle manages it flawlessly. Now, let's dive in.
It's very simple. I would just describe it as social democracy.
Okay.
So anybody can go to the Wikipedia page for social democracy and read through it, and that's basically what my beliefs are. So I believe in meritocracy.
Okay.
You might be surprised to hear that, right? But I want the floor to be a reasonable floor. So I want people to have the basics met, and then from that, then you achieve the most that you can. So in other words, if we're running a 100-yard dash, I want everybody starting at the 0-yard line. I don't want somebody at the negative 40-yard line and then Mitt Romney's son at the 85-yard line. I want to have a fair race. I want a real meritocracy. So that means I want everybody to have health care. I want everybody to have education. I want everybody to have the option potentially of going to, say, trade school. I want a living wage for people, so if they work a full-time job, they make enough money to survive. It's very basic stuff that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what I think the best countries in the world at this point have already achieved. If you look at the Scandinavian countries, a lot of those countries, they provide the basics for people, but then they also rank high, and I think you guys will appreciate this, economic freedom. So a lot of these countries score higher on like free market principles than our country does. So they cut all the red tape that you can cut when it comes to business, but they also have the basics met for everybody. That's all I want. I just want everybody to, get out what you put in, because certainly in the system we have right now, I think people feel like they're getting a raw deal because they are.
Let's just use a different example. We both make $10,000 as a bonus at the end of the year. We work for the exact same job. I spend my money and max out my 401k and pay off my credit card bills and save some money.
Yeah, that's more responsible.
Okay, you go spend half of it at the club, go to South Beach, spend it at partying at 11 in South Beach, big club, and you spend money on strippers and cocaine and have the time of your life. God bless you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Invite me next time. However, to say that those people should, their kids or the byproduct of their family should have the exact same situation, I have a major problem with, because you have the ability to make the decisions. This isn't government handouts.
No, but
you both got a $10,000 bonus.
But out of curiosity, do you think the kid that happens to have asshole parents, so you think there should be like some sort of punishment associated with that?
What do you mean asshole parents?
Well, let me ask you.
Parents who made better decisions.
The one who is irresponsible.
No, made better financial decisions.
No. I'm saying the person who was irresponsible, the parents who partied on South Beach or whatever, and they have their kid, and that kid is behind the 8 ball, obviously, because they don't have the most responsible parents in the world.
Correct.
So where's the disconnect here? Do you think that kid shouldn't have health care, shouldn't have education? Like, what do you think they shouldn't have?
I'm just saying that you want to give free health care, free college, and make sure these kids don't have credit card debt. But
I don't want to eliminate credit card debt. I'm just saying credit card debt is...
You know what? Here we go again with Adam using that typical MAGA debate move, totally putting words in Kyle's mouth that he didn't even say. Did you catch that? Kyle was discussing basic social safety nets, and Adam suddenly interjects with eliminate credit card debt. As if Kyle ever brought that up. Kyle had to jump in right away to clarify, no, I never said that. Honestly, kudos to Kyle for addressing it so quickly, because that's precisely the kind of bad faith argument we see all too often. Then Adam essentially argues that if your parents make poor choices, it's tough luck for you, kid. It's like, excuse me? Kyle's advocating for a sensible point that every child should have an equal starting point in life regardless of their parents' actions. Meanwhile, Adam's basically saying, if your parents are lousy, that's your burden to bear. That's such a backward perspective to me. Kyle argues that everyone should begin at the same starting line with access to healthcare, education, and basic opportunities, allowing merit to take over from there. That's not extreme, that's just fair. Why should a child suffer lifelong consequences just because they were born to irresponsible parents? They didn't get to choose that. Kyle's example of Scandinavian countries is spot on too. These nations have figured out how to provide everyone with a baseline while maintaining strong economies and individual success. Adam's acting as though assisting children undermines personal responsibility, but that's not how it works in reality. So, what are your thoughts? Are you with Kyle, believing that every child deserves the same basic starting point regardless of their parents' missteps? Or do you side with Adam's view that children should bear the consequences of their parents' choices? Share your thoughts in the comments.
But a lot of that is because the parenting didn't teach the kids the right way. Okay, so like, I don't think that we should just, by the way, the student loan thing, I signed, whether that's right or wrong, I signed up for my student loans when I was 18. I took out 25 grand in student loans. That's on me.
No,
so
it's
like,
not. It's not. I think that's a bullshit system, and I think you were hoodwinked whether or not you realize it. I think in the same way, look, I went to public high school. I paid $0.00 out of my own pocket. It was paid for by the taxes of the community. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is it should apply to college like that too. There are people who start out and they're in major, major debt because they're like, I want to improve my life. And it's like, well, great. Now give me $100,000.
Yeah, but at what point? Like we all saw what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried and everything that he did, and his mother penned some article about I don't believe in personal responsibility. So I think kind of like the whole premise of America is that you're an individual. You can do whatever you want in your life. I say this all the time. There's a major difference between being poor and broke. Poor, you live in a poor shithole country, and some you're in Honduras, whatever. You can't make your money. Broke in America, you make 50 grand a year and somehow you can't get by. That to me doesn't add up because I see the decision. I live in South Beach. I see the decisions people make on the weekends. They spend $300 at a bar tab when they should have fucking stayed in that night.
Do you have
and that person ends up paycheck to paycheck complaining about inflation, whereas that is money that they should probably have just saved.
Okay,
but they want to do things that their friends are doing and they want to keep up with the Joneses.
My question for you is very simple. I think we're having two separate conversations. Do you have any systemic critiques, or does it always come back to the individual?
The systemic critiques are fair, meaning I think we all agree that the system is messed up. But if you think that at the end of the day, what's easier to fix? The system with a $30 trillion GDP or your life based on 50 grand? And if your life based on 50 grand is the easier thing to fix, that's where you should start.
Okay, but
so
my
like
problem is
the wailing against the system and like the victim mentality and like, oh my God, life's so tough.
That's a straw man. That's a straw
I'm not saying that, but there are a lot of people that say, you have no idea how many conversations I have with people. My fucking boss is an asshole. Life sucks. They don't pay me enough. It's like, you make 50 grand. I see what you're doing on the weekends, buddy. Okay? You could have stayed in Saturday night, but instead you went to the club.
Isn't that a straw man of working people? But every working person is just some asshole who fucks off and gets drunk every week?
That's not what I'm saying.
There are people who are busting their ass and just not able to pay the bills.
But they're busting their ass at their job. What are they doing with their free time?
My main disagreement is that I submit to you, people cannot just bootstrap their way out of this if the system is rigged. I think it's rigged. What say you?
I think there's a lot of things within the system that can be improved. Okay, that's great. But if you want to wait for the system to improve itself and fix your life,
I never said those words.
Go for it, buddy. Good luck.
Those
I think I'd rather start with myself and in year 1 get out of debt, year 2 save some money, year 3 start investing and do something about it rather than wait 4 years for Bernie to try to figure it out.
First of all,
oh boy. Here we go with Adam yet again. Kyle never claimed that people should just sit back and hope the system fixes itself. This is classic Adam, twisting Kyle's words to fit his narrative. Kyle doesn't let it slide either, instantly correcting him by saying, I never said that, because he truly didn't. Then Kyle hits it out of the park by highlighting how people are giving their all at work yet still can't make ends meet. That's the reality facing millions of Americans now. They're toiling away, doing everything by the book, yet the system keeps failing them. But Adam can't see this because he's cocooned in his South Beach fantasy. Adam's argument is completely disconnected from reality. He's basically saying, I see folks in South Beach dropping $300 at bars, so if anyone making $50K is struggling, it's their own fault. Come on, man, you live in one of the priciest areas in the country, surrounded by affluent folks. That's not what the average American experience looks like. Kyle's addressing those who are genuinely struggling despite their hard work, and Adam responds by pointing to Miami partiers. He seems utterly unaware of the challenges ordinary people face. What do you think? Is Adam offering a balanced view on personal responsibility, or is he just missing the bigger picture entirely?
No, I'm giving a hypothetical, but I would rather look in the mirror and say, I got to do some things in my life than wait for the government or Kyle or the system to have it figured out.
Look,
that's just my opinion.
The problem here is I don't think anybody disagrees with what you're saying. When you talk about like, hey, do the best you can, work really hard, pick a passion, give your all to it, learn, expand your horizons. If you say those things, then I say, and I think any reasonable person would say, 100% on board. But I think the problem is if somebody comes along and has a separate conversation critiquing the system because they say it's rigged, it's not fair, and then you invoke the individualistic argument again, in a sense to kind of cock-block the conversation about the systemic critiques, then I think it becomes a problem. Because then the implication is, if you just bootstrap your way out of it, you're going to get out of it. And my whole point is, I don't think that's possible. I think there are tens of millions of people who are part of this working poor group who did nothing wrong on their own, and the system just fucked them. Let me give you one story. When I was in high school, the hardest working guy I knew, his name was Kevin, okay? He rented a shitty little apartment, and he worked 2 or sometimes even 3 jobs, was going nonstop. And the guy was living at or below the poverty line. I look at that guy and I say, what can he do to change this situation to be better off? And the answer is, honestly, not much. The problem is the jobs he's working have shit pay. And my submit to you, yes, there should be rules around that. This dude should be able to live a decent life, especially since he's such a hard worker, he's such a good person. He should be able to live a decent life. Now, in terms of the irresponsible people, I agree. If you want to have a conversation about how there's a bunch of douchebags on South Beach, believe me, I know.
The conversation that I think we're talking about. So let's be very clear. What did Kevin do for work?
Oh, geez, he was a delivery driver. One of his jobs was delivery driver. So he would spend, from probably 5 o'clock at night until 10 o'clock at night, he'd be delivering pizzas.
Great. What was his next
job? He did some landscaping stuff in the morning.
Now, how did Kevin, he went to high school with you?
Yes.
Did he graduate high school?
I don't know if he ended up graduating.
He didn't even fucking graduate high school, okay?
Wait, hold on.
So Kevin was a screw-up.
But what if I told you his parents died, and so he had to pay the bills to look after his siblings? Then would your calculation change? He needs to earn money right now, so he goes to do something to earn money right now?
Okay, I'm just saying that graduating high... Okay, that's great. I feel horribly for Kevin. I think most people would rather put on Netflix. And I think to Pat's credit, what Pat is basically saying is when he was working at Bally's and his boss is saying, hey...
He went above and beyond, yes.
You can be like me and make $80,000 a year. Just do this. He's like... Dude, I want to do more, and I'm going to read books, and I'm going to improve. But it's outside of the working hours. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah.
Those people that are fighting for 15, I'm wondering what they're doing outside working hours.
Yeah, but look, I believe in a good beer, a football game or an NBA game or something. Like, I want people to have that leisure time, that relaxation
every single
time.
Sunday, though?
If you work full-time, yes. If you work full-time, I think you should be able to live on that wage. Yes. First of all, if people want to choose to go further, to do something that's full-time or beyond full-time. You want to choose to have a family. You want to choose to be a soldier. You want to choose to be in the NFL, which means you're going to have to work on Sunday. Obviously, I'm 100% in agreement with all that. You're talking to a guy who, when I first started, I literally worked from 10 a.m. in the morning to like 2 a.m. at night, 6 days a week, every day.
Respect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. So now, but look.
Congratulate that.
Now, here's the difference, though. So that was a choice on my part to try to go after this. I think the disconnect here is there was a poll that came out years ago which found, I think the number was 18% of Americans feel quote-unquote engaged at work. So in other words, only about 18% of Americans like their job. What do you do in a system where the majority of the jobs are jobs people don't really want to do, don't like doing, but we need these jobs in order for society to function? And that's where the conversation we were having before comes in. What should the norm be for the way we structure our economy? Should people have to work? For example, before unions came around, people would work 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And then eventually we earned the right, hey, we're only going to work 5 days a week. And that became the default. That became the norm. So again, if you want to choose to do something, by all means, go right ahead. I chose to work more than just, 5 days a week. But before I said I was going to go further, here, I'll go one step further. I think the norm should be a 4-day work week. And there's been a number of pilot studies on this where you have people work 4 days a week, and they're doing one in the UK, they're doing them in a bunch of different places now, Portugal too. Yeah. And so the productivity in these companies, many of them stayed the same, and some of them the productivity even went up, because it turns out when you focus on something for maybe a shorter amount of time, but you give your all to it in that shorter amount of time, it's better than just sort of doing it nonstop without the leisure time to sort of recharge your battery.
Examining this discussion, it's clear how vastly different Adam and Kyle's perspectives are when it comes to addressing issues in America. Adam essentially believes everything boils down to personal choices. If someone's having financial troubles, he assumes they've overspent at clubs. Can't cover bills? They should have finished high school. Have student loan debt? They signed the dotted line. Facing poverty? Simply put in more effort and read more books during your downtime. In Adam's eyes, each problem has an individual solution, and if success isn't coming your way, it's because you're not exerting enough effort or making the right personal decisions. What astonishes me about Adam's view is that he seems unwilling to let people have any leisure time. When Kyle mentions people should be able to enjoy watching Netflix on Sundays after a full week of work, Adam's reaction is, what are they doing beyond work hours to better themselves? As if he doesn't understand that these individuals are already working tirelessly just to manage. Sunday might be their sole opportunity for relaxation and humanity. Adam can't grasp this because he's never endured a situation where juggling several jobs is necessary just to keep the lights on. Conversely, Kyle considers the broader perspective. He questions why someone is juggling 3 jobs yet still struggling financially. Why are young adults burdened with oppressive education debt? Why don't salaries align with living expenses? Kyle views these as systemic issues that demand systemic solutions. While he's not opposed to personal accountability, he understands that personal effort alone can't overcome a flawed system. Kevin illustrates this perfectly. Adam's first question is, did he finish high school? Because, to Adam, that's the root problem. Meanwhile, Kyle asks, what if he had family responsibilities after his parents passed away? Or if the available jobs just don't pay a livable wage? Kyle appreciates the human intricacies and systemic factors, while Adam perceives only personal shortcomings. Adam believes America's system functions well, and people merely need to make better choices and hustle continuously. Kyle argues that the system is fundamentally flawed and requires reforms so that hard work yields real rewards and individuals attain basic human dignity, like time to rest. Only one of these views has successfully worked elsewhere, and it's not Adam's. So, what's your take on the broader issue? Is the American economic system inherently broken and biased against workers, or do you think it functions properly with room for people to make better personal choices? Share your thoughts below. If you found this analysis insightful, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe.